Vernomatic Productions.
Hey, this is Metal Dave from the Talk Louder podcast out of Austin, Texas, and you're listening to Metal Mayhem ROC with John, the Vernomatic Verno, and Southern Cal.
Why are you crying? Who keeps saying rock is dead? Rock is not dead. And Rockin' Pod is an annual reminder of that. Rockin' Pod is a unique annual event bringing together rock fans, artists, podcasters, and vendors for events that celebrate the past, promote the present, and look to the future.
Step into the future.
Now, live on location at the aforementioned Rockin' Pod from downtown Nashville, Metal Mayhem ROC founder John the Vernomatic Verno and show producer and co-host Southern Cal.
Well, we're still waiting for Southern Cal's flight from Melbourne, Florida to arrive, and we're getting the party started a little bit early. He'll be here in a few, and we'll catch up with him. But I'm sitting here with metal journalist, longtime metalhead, and friend of the Metal Mayhem ROC show, Dave Glessner. Hey, Dave. How are you, man?
Great. How are you?
We're doing all right. Welcome to Nashville. I'm from Rochester, New York, so I just drove in the other day.
Yeah, I'm from Austin, Texas, so I just flew in this morning.
Austin, Texas?
Yeah.
I had a good friend that lived in Austin for about 11 years. He told me about this event they had where they
the other artists, and by the way, you're getting the scoop because even on our own, we haven't unveiled verbally the five we want you to listen to our podcast.
Yeah. Okay.
But I will do it here.
Showed,
so you have Motley, you got Def Leppard,
so they showed the
Prince.
Film up on the hill where
with Prince. Let's get crazy.
Well, no, we did artists,
I mean,
not
that makes
song
sense.
names.
Austin,
okay.
Artists. So the relevant,
so whether it's a movie or a concert or whatever, I think we have 4 or 5 music festivals every year, a film festival, it seems like every month, so that makes sense.
So let me get into my notes. You're here with your podcast, Talk Louder podcast, you and Jason McMaster.
Yeah.
How'd that come about? Was it a COVID thing?
Yeah, basically. It was born out of COVID. Our show producer is a guy named Jared Tootin, who used to play guitar in a band called Pariah. And he's a big podcast fan, and he had the idea of putting me and Jason together to start a podcast. And Jason and I had no idea what a podcast even was or how to go about doing one. And Jared said, don't sweat it. I just need you guys to talk about music because whenever you guys are at a party or a backyard barbecue or whatever, you start geeking out on rock and roll and the whole room sort of turns to you and starts paying attention and listening. So he thought the two of us just blabbing about music would be a good show. And we said, well, we can talk about music all day long. So if you handle the technology, we'll do the blabbing, and here we are.
Me and my crew, we call it campfire.
Yeah.
I tell them, guys, a little more campfire, a little less wiki. It's just us.
Exactly. Conversation.
Is it a one-man crew? Are you doing the editing, or are you just creative?
It's a 3-man team. Jared is the production guy. He handles all the behind-the-scenes stuff. Jason and I do the talking, and we have a guest each week, so we bring someone in remotely to join the show and the conversation. But basically, we just have a conversation, and there's very little editing. I think Jared would even tell you that the editing is kept to a minimal. What you hear and what you see on our YouTube channel or on Spotify or the podcast platforms, what you see or hear is exactly pretty much how it went down.
That's part of what we're doing here at Rockin' Pod. It's podcasters like Metal Mayhem ROC. You got the Plug podcast, you got yours, you got all these people, and it's really a labor of passion, a passion of love. That's what we're doing.
For sure. Yeah, we joke that, nobody's getting paid, nobody's getting rich, and we've always said that we'll continue to do it as long as it's fun, as long as it continues to be fun, and we've been at it for just over 2 years now, and still got a lot of gas in the tank, so labor of love for sure.
Now, what's the brand? You have the Too Fast to Die blog.
Yeah.
What is the Dave Glessner brand, if you will?
I've never really thought of it as a Dave Glessner brand. I don't know that I have one. The Too Fast to Die website, it's toofasttodie.com, and it's the numerals 2, toofast2die.com. And basically it started as an archive for all the interviews I've done over the years, some of the photos I've, taken over the year. And people used to always ask me, when am I going to write the book about all my rock and roll adventures and whatnot? And I've always thought a book was such a daunting endeavor that I never got around to it. But what I thought I could do is do a website where I would take little snapshots and just compile them. So toofasttodie.com, I do record reviews. It houses a lot of the interviews I've done over the years with, Ozzy Osbourne, Metallica, Motley Crue, just a whole bunch of them. Some of them were for Metal Edge magazine.
Yeah.
A lot of them were for newspapers in Texas. I used to write for Classic Rock magazine out of the UK.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just a collection of all my, goings on.
Well, Metal Edge, we came from cut from the same cloth.
Yes.
The late Jerry Miller.
Yes, sure.
She put her heart and soul into that. You had Paul Gargano.
Yeah.
Didn't Paul take over for her?
Yeah, Paul was the main man when I worked there.
And then you had Andy Seacher over at Hit Parader.
Yeah.
Was it Hit Parader or Circus?
Andy Seacher was Hit Parader, I believe.
Yeah.
Made famous in the Guns N' Roses song "Get in the Ring."
Get in the Ring, yeah.
That's how I know how to pronounce his last name, is assuming Axl's pronouncing it correctly.
Yeah, well, they also had that guy from Playboy, or Hustler, Bob
Guccione.
Yeah.
Axl fires off a lot of venom in that song.
Metallica, when did you interview him? What era? What'd you talk about?
It was definitely during the Load period. I interviewed Kirk twice and Lars once, and they were all phone interviews with Metallica. So typically what I would do is a band is on tour, they're coming to a city where I live, that newspaper wants an interview to sort of advance and promote the concert. I get in touch with the publicist, we do a phone interview, and then I write up the article and publish it in the paper.
Quick story, when I was an 18-year-old, I was doing radio TV in high school, a vocational up in Rochester, and it was the first incarnation of Metal Mayhem. It was a live radio show. And we actually, this is when Master of Puppets came out, got in touch with Elektra at the time, and interviewed Metallica in Rochester before the Ozzy show.
Wow.
It was.
That's a score, man.
It was a very big score. And to top it off, I don't know if you're familiar, Metallica recorded the first album, Kill 'Em All, in Rochester.
Oh, did not know that.
Rochester, New York has a rich metal history.
Wow.
Well, the day of that interview, after the interview, me and the guy I did the show with drove Kirk Hammett to the House of Guitars, and so
tour guide.
But it was 1986.
Yeah.
And that was when you could do that.
Yeah.
So
they hadn't quite exploded yet. They were on the cusp, I guess you would say.
How do you get your interviews now? And you go through the Rolodex, Jason? It's just...
it's a combination. I have a lot of publicity contacts from my years in music journalism. Yeah. Jason, of course, has a lot of firsthand friendships and experiences as a touring musician. So between the two of us, we managed to put a schedule together, and we've had a guest every week for almost 2 years now. So,
a couple weeks ago, Hyrax.
Yes, Caton.
Caton,
yes.
2 years ago, we pestered him.
Yeah.
Pestered him, and there was a miscommunication twice. Finally, he said to us, listen, my wife said, these guys really want to talk with you, and by the end of that interview, he goes, I don't know where you got these questions, but this was fucking fun.
We had the same experience. He was great with us. And actually, funny story with us and Caton is we had him booked on the show, and that's when Jason got the call to go fill in for, I can't remember if it was Armored Saint or Accept, because he filled in for both of them last October. And we had to cancel Caton, but we had the best excuse in the world.
Yeah.
Because Jason's going off to sing with Accept or Armored Saint, whichever one it was.
Yeah, I went to the bullpen.
Yeah, in comes Jason, yes.
All right, well, you know what? It looks like you guys are going to get some food in. Thank you for stopping in.
Absolutely. Totally. It was a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me. We'll see you around Rocket Pod.
There you go.
Take care, man.
There you have Dave Glessner from Talk Louder Podcast and Too Fast to Die. Check him out online. He's got a lot of great content. From Rocket Pod, this is the Vernomatic.
Metal for life.
Thank you for listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Check out our website at metalmayhemroc.com for information on podcasts, archives, links to all our live radio shows, and all sorts of info. Please like, follow, and share with everyone, even your non-metal friends. And always remember to keep it heavy.